you said, I'm not changing the world, but actually you are. You are changing the world because of how you have helped so many people bring their art into the world and make a living from their art. As you said, when you grew up, there just was no model for artists to make money in the world. There was no successful path that you saw to being an artist that was not a starving artist. But now you've trailblazed that path and you shared that path with so many others. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Well, I guess I'll start by saying if you're an artist, there's like one of two messages. We talked about the starving artist, but then there's within the art community a bit of snobbery that if you are a real artist and you actually want to monetize, that you're a sellout. And I remember I'd had a little success on Etsy, and I had taken like one of my first calls with someone who was like wanting my advice because like it looked like I knew what I was doing. I'm like, cool, this is great. And it was someone I'd known when we were younger, and she's like, don't you feel like a little bit of like a cheap and sellout, like making this kind of art that you're making? And I was like, not really. I just paid my mortgage this month and I'm going to do it again. Because in college, I was making fine art. I was doing like really, really like intense, like portraiture and color theory and all these things with like non-digital mediums. And then to go from that to like drawing bluebirds and foxes and mushrooms, some people didn't get it. But I think I understood pretty quickly that there is an intersection between decorative arts and the products people are buying every single day. So, for me at first, I'm like, I'm going to sell art prints because people might put them in their nurseries. And then I started thinking about what are some other functional products that we could create, like I mentioned calendars and planners and things people could use that feature my art. And once I kind of figured this out, I started teaching it to other people, which essentially is like, okay, so I take this drawing of this mushroom, right? And I put it on a mug, I sell it myself, produce it through like a third party. Then I licensed this design, which is a whole other thing that I discovered, which is other companies like my art, I found out. And they were like, hey, Stacy, can we pay you a percentage of our sales to put your art in our products? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. So my first licensing check was like for 20 cents. And I was like, this is the best 20 cents I've ever made in my life because I had reused something I'd already created. So I started realizing you don't have to make tons and tons of art. You can make a small body of intentional work that is like reflective of your voice and your style. And then you figure out the best and fastest way to create income from it. And that's what's really cool. And what I've taught my artists to do is like, it's not about emulating my path, because my path is very much reflective of my skills as an artist, the time I have available, and, my interests in how people respond to my art. But you don't have to just make originals to make money as an artist. You can do prints, you can do print on demand, you can do limited edition runs of products, licensing, teaching, which is now what we're talking about. 2020, whenever COVID happened, I had built my business up from like, Starbucks Stacy working at my dining room table to having this studio. And I had a small team of about 4 people. They helped me ship orders and assemble things and take my, shoebox full of receipts and actually make it a business, because that's not my strong suit. We had like our best year ever. It looked like we were set up for it. January 2020, we went to a trade show to sell my products in stores. It's wholesaling. Went to New York Now, Javits Center, invested like $20,000, which is a ton of money. And we wrote orders to all these retailers. And we're like, oh my gosh, we did it. We've made it. We came home, immediately spent money that we hadn't received yet, bought all this inventory. And then we know what happened in 2020. All of a sudden, one day, I got all these emails. I need to cancel this purchase order. I need to cancel this. We're not going to do this delivery date. I was like, oh my gosh, we are sitting on all this inventory with no way to sell it. And doors are shutting left and right. And this is when I really started leveraging my art, my friends, like in real life. First thing I did is I took all this inventory and I was like, how can I sell it right now? I had all these greeting cards. So I, in a day, created a pen pal program for my social media following. I was like, you're going to be disconnected from people anyways. Why don't you pay me $20? I'll send you cards and envelopes and match you with someone else on my list and you can have a pen pal. And we had so many people sign up because people were afraid and craving connection. The next thing I did was I was teaching workshops here on how to hand embroider. And so I gathered every bit of fabric and thread I could find and bought every hoop on Amazon I could find, embroidery hoop, and we started hand packaging embroidery kits. And I just one day on Instagram was like, who's bored at home? Who wants to learn how to stitch a gingerbread piece of art onto embroidery fabric? And we started selling those hand over fist. So much so that all my team was doing was measuring out yarn and thread and cutting it and packaging it and getting it out there. And I was like, it was at that point, I was telling my other friends and creative businesses, I was like, you just got to pivot your butts off, guys. Like, I'm very eloquent. Pivot in any way you can. And that's what led me to finally, after I'd gone through all the inventory I could at the store, I was like, what else do I have that I can leverage, that I can use? And I was like, I'm going to teach people to do exactly what I just did and what I've done since I started my Etsy store, which is to start with something small, use what you have, and squeeze every little bit of opportunity out of it to create the business that is like perfectly reflective of who you are as a creative and your strengths. So 2020, I don't know how to make sales pages, Jeff, and it was so ugly. I would love to show you sometimes. And my sales emails were ugly. And, I was trying to be colorful because I'm an artist. But in hindsight, like, I didn't know how to write copy. I just knew how to talk about what I cared about. So I said I was going to sell a course for $9.97, called it Leverage Your Art, explained it, opened up cart, and I sold 500 spots. And I spent like $10,000 on that course in marketing expenses. I figured out how to do ads myself with a YouTube tutorial. Golden days of ads, Ben. Am I right? Those were nice days. But I went from having never taught a course to all of a sudden having an 8-week course that didn't exist yet. I should remind you, I created it as I went. I pre-sold something based off of the premise that I could actually deliver. And I made $500,000 in a week. And it didn't feel real. And then I had to deliver. Which is what I do now. I took that as an opportunity, and I've now grown like my product side business, like multi-million-dollar business now. I sell like tea towels hand over fist with art on them. It's great. But education has grown into like a $3 to $4 million a year program where I teach this, and I have a membership now. And now I've dabbled in teaching people how to make art my way. And so it kind of has just been this wild 16 years of going from nothing to just pivoting to the next opportunity. So that's what happened.
I love the word opportunity. Like as I was listening there, that came up a bunch. And it's so fun because I didn't know your story personally in that much detail. And the thing that I just kept thinking, like, as you're talking through that, is I love the lack of a grand plan. Like, I mean that like so sincerely, because I feel like that's something that holds so many people back. Is it's like the need to know the end goal and the starting steps and every step in between. And it really seems like you just sort of opportunity. Let's go for it. And if it's not working out, like you said with the pillows, if it's not working out, well, like that doesn't matter. Still going to keep trying it. But also there's another opportunity. We'll try that. And then we'll try this and we'll try that. I just love how you've grown a business that, looking back, it almost does seem like if you could have planned out a master plan, it almost seems like this could have been a master plan.
That's why people take my course now. They're like, share the plan, Stacy. How did you do this? I think what's funny, Dan, to your point, is like, people think I'm type A, but they've never met my sister. She's like ultra type A. She works with me now. So I brought her onto my team to help run like the back end of things a long time ago. And the joke always was that like we had these massive 5-year plans when we were younger. Like we were these very organized sisters who were, you can imagine straight A students in charge of all the clubs, and I always had this plan. And I think what happened is honestly is when I got married as young as I did and I got pregnant right after graduating, like I graduated in December and was pregnant by February. All of a sudden, I'm like, the plan is out the window, friends. There is no like straight line here. It is literally just like, make the best decision I can today. And actually, part of the course is funny because I have a curriculum, right? And Leverage Your Art because people want the path. But what I actually try to do by the end of Leverage Your Art program is actually try to get people to almost throw out the plan and get good at decision making. My goal is to teach people how to make decisions through a lens that is perfect for their skill set and their time. So if anything, we're a compass and a lens at Leverage Your Art, and we're showing people the possibilities of how to create profitable income as a creative.
I love that. And I love that because it's like, I can see you in the background, like someone wants the plan and you're like, no, that's not the right thing to do. But like, okay, we'll help you create that, but actually like do it this way instead.
It's hard because like what I focus on in Leverage, first of all, is we talk about the business part. Like setting up the actual business, things I was horrible at too, why I hired my sister, what to do with your expenses, spreadsheets, how to do it all scrappy. Like I'm not teaching people how to use one program. I really think that for all entrepreneurs starting out, like you got to keep your overhead low, especially because there will be a time when your investment matters, right? For me, it was the printer. And then later it was like joining a mastermind. You want to put the money in the right places that'll actually like turn the volume up, right? So we start with the most basic way to get your business set up. And then we teach about how to talk about yourself as a creative, because if you had met me back then, Jeff, you would not have been impressed. I'm like, I'm a doodler. Don't look at me. Like I don't feel good about anything I'm creating. That's the vibe that most creatives have. Like that's how they believe about themselves. So we try to help people change their beliefs about themselves and talk about their art differently. Then we teach them about audience building, which is very hard because a lot of artists want the art to do the selling for them and they'd like to not speak. But we live in a personal artist brand world where your voice matters more than anything, even more than like you create, because the truth is there are more talented artists out there. People are investing in you as the artist and the creative, and they want to support you. Right. And so we're really missing a marketing opportunity as creatives that a lot of businesses don't have, which is like kind of like I'm bearing my soul to you through my creativity and art. Please don't hate me. Also support me and buy my stuff. It's all of it. So after we teach those parts, then we go into different income streams. The ones that require the least amount of investment, art licensing, longer road to build up the consistent income. And we teach about products and sales, which I'm in my studio right now where all my products are, and we're shipping out a lot every day. And then this year we started teaching about courses, workshops, like how do you teach a local workshop as a creative? So in essence, I can take this mushroom, I can sell the original of it, which I have. I can sell it on products at a lower cost. I can then teach someone how to draw the mushrooms in person at a workshop at my local library. And if I'm real savvy, I can record myself while I'm doing it and sell it online as a workshop too. So it's like we leverage the heck out of this mushroom. That's what we did.
Hey, Launch family, I hope you liked that clip from one of our episodes. If you haven't yet, please do hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming interview episodes or cool other episodes that we have coming out. We got some great ones on our schedule. Also, if you haven't yet, go to getyoulaunch.com. We actually have some absolutely free, amazing launch resources that you can get just by putting in your email. So thanks again for listening, and we're looking forward to the next episode.